All right, how you guys doing today? About to hop into the review of Proverbs chapter 25. The first things first, though. Just want to make sure you like that video up. You already know what to do, and if you don't, let me tell you, you gotta hit an exit full screen, scroll just a little bit, like it, and then full screen it back up. You feel me? All right, so verse 1. These are the Proverbs. These are also Proverbs of Solomon, which the men of Hezekiah, the king of Judah, copied out. And I just want to give it a little note, right? Hezekiah, he was like way down the list. You know, you can read about him in King, or my bad, in Chronicle. Oh, yeah, and Kings. Chronicles and Kings, one of the two of them. And the good thing about him is he's actually the one who created the Siloam Tunnel. And if you're unfamiliar with what that is, it was an underground kind of aqueduct system around either, Israel or Judah, whichever one he was king of. And it's an important thing to note that he created because it's actually historically backed by not only Britannica, but also the National Geographic thing, like website or journal, whatever they are, right? But National Geographic and Britannica actually have, fact checked this. And the great thing about Hezekiah is that it's either him or his dad. It's been a while since I've actually, talked about this point, but for him to have lived, it was either him or his dad that was sick. And him or his dad was either promised 15 years of more life by God. And actually, I think it was his dad. And in those 15 years of life that his dad was granted by God when he was sick, was actually in the time that he conceived Hezekiah, right? Now, if you want to look back at this and say, oh, well, maybe he was just sick and he prayed really hard, and people said, and he had, in his like fugue state, weird flu vision, he thought God said he can have 15 more lives, but really he just came out of the flu and, lived for another 15 years. Sure, you could say that, but the fact that the Bible wrote that he created the Siloam Tunnel before we could even go back and like fact check that, and that's what they said happened. It kind of lends some good probability to the fact that that happens. But also, I just like the whole fact that a lineage, right? Because Solomon is a historically accurate figure, and with that, it's like how much more of Israel's past would have to be talked about in terms of the Bible that we see that Solomon could be a real person, right? Right. So anyway, the Siloam Tunnel was one of the first points that I had actually studied about being like, hey, the Old Testament is, it's pretty historically reliable. As we can see, it wrote about Hezekiah creating the Siloam Tunnel, and then the Siloam Tunnel is historically backed by some major things like Britannica and National Geographic. Anyway, I also used to pronounce his name Hezekiah because names are hard to pronounce. Anyway, verse 2. It is the glory of God to conceal a thing, but the honor of kings is to search out a matter, right? The glory of God conceals things, whether that be our hearts or our feelings, right? We know that God conceals our passions and lets his shine through with grace, right? But the honor of kings is to search out that matter. And we know that kings are put in the position by God. We see that in, I believe it's Romans, when it says to follow the law because all the kings are put in power by God. So we see that God conceals things, but the honor of kings seeks them out. More so saying a lot of these things in this world are a mystery, but a king's honor is to seek it out. Same way, people could argue now we trying to do that with science, like, oh, things are hidden and we're trying to seek it out. Like, yes, but we're seeking it out in the wrong way. It's more so God has hidden truths and we're finding them out in the sense of like we're studying quarks and we're studying particles and atoms and electrons and neutrons and hoopty whoopty whoops, and then we're making civilization quote unquote better with these things, but all these things could be used to the glory of God. So in some way it's better. I ain't really a fan of most of it though, because before all this stuff we was hitting 93% Christian rate in the country, and that ain't really the case no more. Oh yeah, so some important information to note about verse 1 is that Hezekiah wrote down these after, people were spreading them by word of mouth. He told people to write them down some 70 years after Solomon's death. Kings 4:32 tells us that Solomon spoke 3,000 proverbs, and even then, he spake 3,000 proverbs, and his song were 1,005. And in that edition, even with these, not all of them are contained in the book of Proverbs. Same way that at the end of, I wonder if this is like that, where it's like, he spoke 3,000 Proverbs. We don't have 3,000 Proverbs in the book of Proverbs. And then at the end of the Gospel of John, it says, if all the things that Jesus done were written about, we couldn't even fill all the books on the earth, right? I wonder if it's like that. Anyway, and then there's this quote that they use to talk about verse 2 It's one of God's ways to say that you are amazed by what you see. What you don't see, what I have concealed, is even greater, right? And we have this written in verses, like one of my favorites, no eye has seen, no heart has imagined the things that he has prepared for those who love him, goes to show that these things that he's tucked away, it's the glory of God, right? The glory of God is the things that he's put away for us because we love him so much, right? But not only that, I think it was like Muhammad Ali that said something along the lines of everything that God made precious or beautiful or whatever, he made it hard to find. And this was in reference to like why he had his wife dressing modestly, because it's like everything that God made beautiful or precious is hard to find. It's hard, you have to seek it out diligently. You actually have to work to see it, versus like all these women nowadays who just dressing in hoop-dee wow, whatever the mess, and you know, they going out wearing whatever they want, showing off whatever they want, because you know, God still did make them precious. Don't let that get that twisted. It's just that they don't see it as precious, right? They haven't seeked that out, as the verse says, like the kings do. And even this quote speaks about scientists staying humble and saying, I cannot figure it all out, right? And another one, it suggested that the scribes put this proverb first, had not all this resulted from the fact that they've been under the king whose supreme glory had been seeking out the secrets of wisdom in the fear of God, question mark. I phrased that wrong, but you know what I'm saying? It's like, it's the glory of kings to seek this out, right? A king's glory is when they uncover the secrets of God that God has concealed, right? Which could be seen as disrespectful, or it could be more seen as like, God, I love you so much, I want to uncover all that I can about you. And I can't remember whether it was a sermon or a video that said something along the lines of us in heaven will be around God, praising him all the time, and he'll just be revealing secrets to us, or like natures of himself or something, and then we praise him evermore, and then all that stuff, and he just keeps revealing things, right? So we don't have to seek it out anymore. He just willingly tells us. But I don't know how true that was. I don't even remember the video it came from. Verse 3, for the heaven for height and the earth for depth and the heart of kings is unsearchable. In this verse, I would say that the commentary said that it has a kind of double entendre, saying that the heaven for height, the earth for depth, the heart of a king is unsearchable, right? Saying not only can a glory of a king be to search out a matter, but when it comes to humans searching their own heart and their own intentions, we struggle. You can pour so many resources in trying to gain information and trying to understand this and that. Same way you can pay a bunch of money for therapy, but even still, sometimes it's just concealed, whether by God or, you know, whether just the fact you can't get to it and you can't attain it. The other entendre, well, not entendre, but the other meaning for this verse would be that, you know, the somewhat limitless view to them that the heavens would have been, and the limitless earth for them would have been, in that sense. I put quotes because, or I meant to put quotes on limitless and not earth and sky or whatever I did. Anyway, it's saying such is the mind of a king when he's making decisions for the people, right? So much of what we have to do is trust that they have our best interests at heart. For a king, I guess in this time it was a lot harder, because it was just gonna go in by bloodline. And if you read Kings or Chronicles, you see that this king was good. Oh, this one's bad. Oh, this one's bad. Hey, we got another good king. Oh, this one's bad. This one's bad. This one's good. Hey, he had another kid. This one's bad. This one's good though. Hey, this one also is pretty good. But oh, we're back to a bad one. Hey, you know, it just kind of goes in that little cycle. So it's like the heart of a king is unsearchable, because the people weren't really like voting these people into power, so to speak. It was more so just, hey, I'm born first out of this new king. Put me on a throne. You know what I'm saying? So it's a lot harder to understand the mind of a king back in that time. You just kind of hoped that it was what it was. But today, I'd say it's definitely more searchable, in the sense that they're kind of held by their word to do some things. And while they do lie a lot, politicians do, and they do omit a lot, politicians do, and they don't follow through on everything they say they do, politicians, they still let you know what they're about. It's not like somebody's gonna hop in office and have a complete 180 from their thing, because then, you know, they're just gonna get riots and voted out or whatever the case is. I don't really know how that would function, but back to the point, it's a lot more searchable of what a king's heart is about nowadays. And then the next two verses, 4 and 5, kind of go together. Take away the dross from the silver, and there shall come forth a vessel for the finer, such as you should, take away the wicked from before the king, and his throne shall be established in righteousness. It's pretty straightforward, right? And I believe dross is just another word for like impurities. Yeah, let's take away the impurities, dross, impurities. Yeah, we're saying that it's just take away the bad stuff out the silver, right? And it's going to shine finer. It's just the way you take away the wicked from before the king, and his throne is going to be established in righteousness, and the fact that he's going to be a better king, and he's going to be established the way that God wants him to be established, right? Verse 6, put not forth thyself in the presence of a king, and stand not in the place of great men, for it is better it is that it be said to thee, come up hither, than that should be puttest lower in the presence of a prince whom thine eyes have seen. And this is basically saying, don't really exalt yourself in today's society. We have a huge problem with that. In the black community, we have a huge problem with that, right? Whether it's extensively rocking gold and jewels and all this type of stuff, or bragging about everything that you're doing and hoop de blah. But you know, it's talking about don't exalt yourself, right? Be humble, put yourself lower than where you should, because it's better that they say, come here, come up here. We want you here because you're doing this good and this good. And it's not really being recognized from where you are now, than for them to say, why is this guy here with us? He's kind of like, we got to put him down, right? We got to knock him down the peg. We got to demote him rather than promote him, right? And in this case, you're going to be put lower than a presence of a prince whom thine eyes have seen. And the commentary was a little spotty in terms of what I think this is supposed to mean, more so that it's saying you've seen a prince, right, on earth. This is an earthly prince. You're going to be put lower in the presence of him. So how much lower will you be put in the presence of God, whom you haven't seen, who's not a prince, but an almighty king? So now that I say it out loud, it actually makes a lot more sense than I thought it did. So you'll be put lower than a prince on earth that you've seen, rather than the king of heaven, whom we've not seen, and is all powerful. So think about that next time you're exalting yourself. But another thing, if you're Jesus, he said, right, humble yourself or you will be humbled. Right, hold on, let me go back and find the quote. Whoever exalts himself will be humbled. He who humbles himself will be exalted. And I think that when I was talking about me getting the job that I'm in currently right now, it was a matter of God saying, like, it wasn't me complaining, oh, I wasn't good enough to do this, or oh, I wasn't this. But I will say I was definitely moving haughtily, which means like pridefully, in terms of my interview. And my friend has been sure to remind me of that, how my lack of preparation probably cost me getting the job the first time around. But you know, the fact that I was remaining humble about it, I wasn't like, you know, I guess evil after not getting the job, that I was still able to be reached out to off the wait list and collect the job, right? God saying to me, you have what it takes, you just have to apply yourself. And you can't be thinking to yourself, oh, I got this in the bag, and if I don't get it, I have this to fall back on. Because guess what? I have none to fall back on. I thought I would, I didn't. And I think when I realized I didn't, God was like, all right, he realized he can't be moving like that no more. He's got to be sure, got to have that surety. So he's been humbled. All right, that's going to be the end of the video. Hope you guys have yourself a fantastic rest of your day. Peace.